the costume was very intentional. The music was intentional. The fact that we had, a love story of, two, I would, to say dark-skinned characters, because colorism is a thing within, obviously within our culture, that was something that was very important.
I guess my first question is, I know the role of producer can mean so many different things. So can you kind of talk about where you fit in with this as it was coming together?
I guess, I was involved sort of early on, not as the web series stage. I guess that was sort of more, big deal discovering the web series and getting that commission to the pilot. And so, I was involved in the pilot, but in that capacity, I was the line producer on the pilot. And then, invited back to, to produce the series, which was an incredible honor to produce the series. And so I suppose my role, on the show was really to stay true to, the vision. So Adjani's vision for the show. And with that, I suppose our intention was to really stay true to, I suppose, like the UK Black experience. Whether you're a creative or you work in other industries, I think that the running themes of the show are very relatable.
That's kind of what I was going to ask next about. There's such a conversation in the series, I think, about there's like a struggle between doing projects that are personal and then doing projects that are you're going to get money for, basically. How much can you relate to that as a producer who's done so many different projects?
Yeah, I can relate to that fully because, there's, as you know, sometimes there's a difference between producing film and producing TV. Producing film, you've got to go out, not to say that you don't have to go out and hustle and find, broadcasters willing to give you money, but for film, you're going out and raising finance and being creative. And a lot of times, in the early days, I suppose you go off and you whether you do jobs for free or you help people out or, it's really a long game. And I've always been one to really focus on projects that mean something. Like I like to say, working on projects that feed my soul. And I think with, so going out and I suppose just, hustling, I suppose, for your dream to make that a reality is, as filmmakers, that's what we do. We love what we do. And we're not always making money at doing it. But, we continue to, I don't know what that means about us, but, we're gluttons for punishment, but the fruits of our labor, I think are well received.
Something I loved about this that felt kind of unique to the series was just the overall structure in the sense of like, even how the time jumps are accomplished, because they'll talk about something like, oh, this is happening in a few weeks. And then the next episode, it's the thing. Like, how much did you discuss just I guess the scope, like how much of these characters' lives you wanted to cover in the series and how to accomplish that?
I suppose, yeah. So there were a lot of characters. And as you know, with a comedy, and we packed in a lot in each episode within those 22 to 30 minutes. And, we really wanted to hone in on obviously Kwabina's journey. And then we have Amy, who, is sort of following almost along in the same path. And so, but she has her own, sort of storyline as well and dealing with, office politics and the microaggressions that go on there. And then you have the family, and just the authenticity of Kwabina's family. And then you have Maurice and Fumi and those characters as well. And, and again, those are themes that are, again, relatable, a young couple, the new baby. And then, I don't want to give too much away to people who, who haven't haven't watched the series, but I think that we really tried hard to make sure that each character that was, that you saw on screen, down to Lewis, who pops up every now and again, which is sort of a bit of funny comedic relief. There's a reason for him to be there.
Were you involved at all? Like, can you speak at all to the music of the series as well? Because the composer's amazing. The licensed songs are perfect. It's such a character of the series. And I was just curious, like, what those discussions were in having that be a part of everything.
Yeah. So from the very beginning, with this show, everything is intentional. From the people that we hire, our HODs, our casting, and music, which it was a key element, even from the pilot, was very intentional. We focused on, kind of highlighting British talent as well, in terms of music and our choices editorially for music. Our music supervisor, Kaya Pino at King Lear, she was brilliant. In terms of, selecting music as well and bringing those to our attention. But we had sort of a collaborative space as well where, even our costume designer would suggest, there is one episode, I believe it's episode 3, with the Suck Your Mom. She's the one who said, oh, this track would be brilliant, and it worked perfectly for that. And so, and again, Adjani, who is very integral to music selection and those choices where, as I said, we were very intentional and with working within the parameters that we had as well, but it needed to speak editorially. And we kind of wanted to create a soundtrack that you could then go off and listen to, where it became, like you said, it became a character within and added an extra layer. And Adam, who was our composer, is phenomenal in terms of, okay, this is what we want to achieve from this scene. And he would go back and, send us something, we'd have a listen and some tweaks. But the process and the journey of our music was great.
I guess the last thing I was curious about was just, was there anything in this series, any aspect of it that you personally were really related to the most or really fought for in terms of making sure it shone through the way it did?
Something that I fought for specifically, I think our visions were pretty much aligned with this series. I wouldn't say that there was something that, I fought for everything to be in there. Because again, it's like whittling those scripts down to be able to pack what we had, within, a half hour. So things that we fought for. But I think things that whereby, where we were very intentional was in terms of things that just happened in the background, even with our costume, having 60 brands that were, Black and people of color, that we made sure that, again, the costume was very intentional. The music was intentional. The fact that we had, a love story of, two, I would, to say dark-skinned characters, because colorism is a thing within, within our culture, that was something that was very important to us. And we wanted to sort of highlight things whereby rather than being the exception, that they would just become the norm. I think. But yeah, so I think in terms of fighting, I fought for everything.